So I read this book once, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert Zimmerman, and there's a passage in there that I always like to quote. I felt it was a really good passage. So the guy who in the book was a lecturer at a university at that particular point in the book, and one of the tasks he always gave his students was to go down to Main Street and write an essay on Main Street. And this one particular student came back to him and said, "Hey, I went down to Main Street and nothing came. I couldn't write anything." So he said, "Okay, go back to Main Street tomorrow and sit on the bench outside the library and go from there." So she went down to Main Street and she sat on the bench opposite the library and sat there for an hour, 2 hours. Nothing came. So she went back to the lecturer the next day and she says, "I did as you said, nothing happened." So he said, "Okay, tomorrow go down to the Main Street, go to the park bench, sit and look at the library, look at the front of the building." So next day she went down, looked at the front of the building, nothing came, went back, and he said, "Okay, go down, look at the front of the building, look at the top floor of the building." Went down the next day, did the same, nothing happened. So he said, "Right, okay, go down to Main Street, sit on the park bench, look at the front of the building, look at the top of the building, look at the brick in the top left hand corner, the very first top left brick under the roof, right about that." So she went down and she sat down on the bench, looked at the front of the building, looked at the top left hand brick, and bang, there it came. And she went and she wrote 5,000 words on the brick in the top left hand corner. And that's a great story. It's about detail. It's about once you find that one thing to concentrate on, then the rest of everything can flow from it. The big picture is just too much for us to comprehend, so we can look at the tiny little detail, and although we're concentrating on the tiny little detail, doesn't mean that we're going to stick with that tiny little detail, because everything else can flow from that. So what am I doing up here on the roof with a tub of whitewash, painting this chimney? So very similar. I mean, I've told that story half a dozen times because it really struck me as a great story, but I've never really understood it. I never really understood it until a couple of weeks ago when I was on top of this ladder and I was looking at this wall here, and it got to the point I ripped some of this render off and I looked at the state of this chimney and I thought to myself, this is it, this is too much. And I said to Deb, I said, "It's too much. We need a grown-up. We need somebody who, knows what they're doing to come here and get us the hell out of here, because this is too much." And she said to me, she said, "Hold on, let's have a look." So she came up and she had a look and she said, "Well, there's some loose stones. The wood, it looks a bit rotten, but it's only rotten on the outside. And if you lifted that stone and you lifted that stone, you could just you could pull that out and you could put that in there." And it's great. It's great. She really talked me down on it, and I came back up here and I looked at this brick just here. You can't see it behind this wheel, but let's say I looked at this brick and I raked out the mortar and I put some fresh mortar in it, and then I raked out a bit more and I put some more in, and then I got up to this section here, and this was basically, it was a pile of loose stones from here up to here, and I was almost crying as I pushed and pressed and tried to see which was a loose stone and which one I could keep in, and I was taking these stones out and I was stacking them on the top, and I was stacking them on the ladder, I was stacking them on the woodwork, I was stacking them everywhere, and with a bucket of mortar, one brick at a time, one stone, I put them back in, mushed it all up, put a bit more mortar, put the next one in and the next one in. And day after day after day, it must take me a week to find all the little stones to sit up here in the sun, in the cold, in the rain, and build it all back up again. And now I'm whitewashing it. I'm putting paint on it, and it's like it's a couple of weeks ago. If I'd have done this, it would have just collapsed inwards. But now it's all done. Well, this bit of it is, and that was all from that book, all about looking at the tiniest little thing, just shutting out all the noise, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that, it's too big a job, I can't do it, I'll never do it, it's just all too much. If we thought like that, we'd never get anywhere. What I did was I looked at the one thing that I could do, and I knew that if I did that one thing that I could do, once I'd done that, I could do that other thing that I could do, and then that other thing that I'd do, and somewhere off in the future, it's all done. But right now, I don't need to worry about that. All I need to worry about is that one little brick. Like, right now, all I'm worrying about is this one little coat of paint. I'm not worried about this bit, because I can't reach that, but when I get the ladder on the other side, I'll do that. I'll just do it.